Well, good morning, and thank you for joining Needs for Viz's webinar, N4V for WebI, Turn SAP Business Objects into Power BI. Really the best of both worlds. My name is Michael Trickey. I'm Need for Viz's Senior Enterprise Account Executive, and joining me today is Dallas Marks. Dallas is new to the company. He's been here since July, but he is not new to Business Objects. He has over 20 years experience, and we are pleased that he has decided to join us as a senior consultant. And just a quick rundown today of order of events. I'm going to be giving a quick introduction presentation to who we are, and then followed up with Dallas giving you a presentation on some of our components and our capabilities, then following up with a live demo. And afterwards, I'll finish up with a quick word, and then we'll go into a Q&A session. So if any of you have any questions during this webinar, don't hesitate to use your chat function to get it out to us. We'll be glad to answer it at the end of this webinar presentation. Before we get started, we have a fun exercise that we're going to be doing. So those using the Microsoft Teams Thick client, you should see a pop-up window. Those using the web client, you should see it on the chat function. First question, where are you from? I think it'd be interesting to see if you know where you are here in the U.S. or outside of the U.S. We got some international people here. Wow, okay, I see we have people from all over the U.S. here, South America, Europe, Canada. So that's good to see. And we have just about 10 more seconds. So if you'd like to chime in, love to know where you're from. Just to let the audience know where our business community, business objects community is. And with that, we have just a few more questions. The second question is, which version of SAP Business Objects are you using? Are you using 4.1 or 4.2 or 4.3 SPO1 or 02 or 4.3 SPO3 or 4? And we'll be able to display some of the results here on the side chat. So far, we're seeing kind of a mixed result between 401, 4.2, and 4.3. Now we'll give you a few more seconds to answer. And on to the next question. Do you already know of Need for Viz before this webinar? Do you know of our capabilities? Yes or no? This is kind of giving us an insight how well we're doing with the marketing. And we are going to give our audience about 10 more seconds to answer that question. Now, for those who don't know us and those who do, we're Need for Viz. And what that means is that we're experts in data visualization, data analysis, and distribution of your data, all within the business object environment. And we're an SAP partner company, and we work closely with SAP. Since we're both located, our product development teams are both located in the Paris market. We're actually just a 17-minute bike ride away from one another, and we meet regularly to discuss ways we can enhance WebI through N4V for WebI to help make N4V a solution that's fast and for you. And so fast because we're no code. No heavy lifting. We're plug and play. We work within the same business object server that you already have, if you like, and we can provide you up to 60 plus reporting widgets. And that goes into a lot of the things that we do with data visualization, because we provide a tremendous amount of visualization into these components, as well as being able to show some animation, be it the ability to work with both online and offline mapping, but more importantly, customized mapping. These are things that aren't available right now within WebI, as well as being able to show you in a very powerful and resourceful component known as the data analyzer. The data analyzer can allow you to do so much more within your spreadsheets, as far as turning into a pivot table, as well as being able to export your data that you have created within the business object environment outside the environment. And we make this really the WebI experience more simple, more productive, and more powerful for you. Now, at this time, what I'd like to do is be able to hand over the reins to Dallas, who's going to be going through the next stage of this webinar. Dallas, please take it away.
All right. Well, thank you, Michael, for that introduction, and it's my pleasure to be with you. And what we're going to talk about today is how Need for Viz and our N4V for WebI suite can extend the web intelligence and the universes that your users already know and love, and we can make some dramatic new capabilities that make the impossible possible. So today we're going to take a look at a human resources dashboard, and uh, you have probably been tasked with creating something very similar to this. So there's a lot of headlines about diversity, equity, and inclusion. There's also a lot of headlines about gender equality for pay. And so your HR team, your executives, your board of directors, they're all interested in making sure that that your organization is providing a equal and fair experience. So, believe it or not, this is a web intelligence report that has been enhanced with the N4V for WebI suite. And so, we're going to talk about the components that are in this dashboard. But first, um, is this the kind of dashboard, whether it's HR specific or just more visual and interactive, is this the kind of dashboard that you've been asked to create for your organization? So just take a few seconds. Okay, so it looks like many of you are in need of creating a dashboard like this, either with the visualization and navigation capabilities that it has, or maybe even specifically for the realm of HR data. So I'm going to go through several of the Need for Viz components. And so what we're going to talk about today is if you look up in the top left corner, we have our multi-chart component that it's the same component, but you can see that it has options to look a couple of different ways. In the second row of the dashboard, we have one of our navigation components. And so one of the capabilities of the M4V for WebI Suite is we take navigation that's typically in the web intelligence product itself, and we actually put it on the report. This is not only great for a desktop experience, but it also allows there to be a really good mobile experience as well. Okay, next to that is our one of our bar components, the very wide, and next to it is a similar yet variation of the drill bar, and so I'll be happy to show you both of those. And then next to that is our timeline component. So really good for not just viewing time series data, but also allowing the analysis of it. In the bottom row, we have an age pyramid, and we're using that to show the gender breakdown of our workforce. We're also showing in a variable pi. Stephen Few probably is laughing at that, but hey, everybody needs a pie chart every once in a while. And then lastly, we have our HTML filtered table. And so this is able to show you tabular information as well as with some graphical indicators. And it's also, you can filter and sort on it. So all of these components provide a lot of information via not just their on-screen appearance, but their tooltips. Um, and over on the left, I want to draw your attention to our navigation panel. So I'm going to wire up these buttons. So the top button is always going to be the overview, and so that's the button our users can click to always return to this view of the dashboard. The next button in the navigation, we're going to have one of our tabular components, the data analyzer, to pop up an employee directory. The third icon, I'm going to show you how to create a pop-up window using a combination of built-in web intelligence features and some Need for Viz navigation components. And then lastly, we're going to show you one of the 8 maps that are available from the Need for Viz suite. Specifically, this one's going to be our Google Maps with geoencoding built into them. All right. So to begin, I want to take you through a couple of components that you can just tell by looking at them. These are not graphics that are available in Web Intelligence by default. And so I want to start by talking about our timeline component. So this might be something that you tried to use. So this is just time series data. You might want to use the built-in line component in Web Intelligence. And you can see here that we're trying to look at a lot of data. And so if you're trying to use the built-in Web Intelligence component, it's telling you that it's really more data than it knows how to process. So we can resolve this problem by using the Need for Viz timeline component. And so using our custom elements is very similar to using a built-in chart type. So we're just going to right-click on the block, and we're going to do a turn into, just like we were going to pick a built-in table or chart. But in this case, we're going to go to the custom elements panel and pick the timeline. And once we've done that, we'll also go to the properties panel, the same properties panel that you're using. So this is the properties panel in BI 4.3 for those of you who may be still running 4.2 or maybe an earlier version of the platform. So this is a workflow that users are already familiar with, and it just takes a few moments. I want to set a few options to set the default appearance of the data. I also want to make sure that I'm using a color palette that harmonizes the timeline with the other components in my dashboard for a cohesive look. And so with the Need for Viz suite, you can select from the default Web Intelligence palette, the one that you've selected for the entire document, or you can select one of our custom palettes. And of course, you can extend our built-in palettes with customs of your own, so you can easily create a palette that's going to match your organization. So notice, one, we're able to view a large amount of data, 20 years of data, and our tooltips provide some interactivity, and there's also some controls I'll be showing you later on in the demo that allow you to do some analysis. Okay, the next graphic that's you can just tell by looking at it, it's not available in Webi, is our age pyramid. And so once again, we're going to begin with one of our components that we're familiar with using. So the standard vertical table, we just right click and turn into. And again, instead of choosing something built in, we click on the custom element button. We choose the age pyramid, and then we change its default appearance. And so we're just going to take a moment here. I'm going to add a title. I'm going to turn off certain options, turn on some others. And you can see, although it's really nice that I've got pink and blue for female and male, these colors really don't correspond to the theme of our dashboard. And so I want to plug in some custom color values as well. And again, this is a component that at face value provides a lot of information, but through tooltips and interactivity, your users can go, beyond just, looking at the information that's provided and actually dig into it. Okay, setting the colors here. And I just want to remind you that you can ask questions throughout the webinar using the chat panel. We'll definitely be going through those at the end of the presentation. So don't hold back as questions pop in your mind. Okay, so I've got a component. It looks gorgeous. It's harmonized with the rest of my components, And because I'm using BI 4.3, it's really easy to align with the other components using the new alignment guides in 4.3. So, okay, so let's think about what we've done here. So what we've accomplished is we've added graphics not available in standard web intelligence, but look how easy it was to bring them into our dashboard. We just did the same right click and turn into and setting the properties that we would as if this was a native component, and voila, we have components that handle large volumes of data, and they're also not just a pretty face, they're very interactive, encouraging your users to really be able to dig in and go beyond maybe what you were thinking, what you were putting the dashboard together, and allowing them to go off-road with the data and really dig in with it. Okay, the next thing that I'd like to show you is our menu buttons. So we have an entire folder of navigation components. And so the menu button allows you to take graphics files. So these do need to be hosted on somebody's web server, either the Bob J Tomcat server or anywhere the Bob J server can see from an HTTP perspective. And in this particular case, we're loading our the names and the image URLs that we want to use. We're using the Google Google Cloud connector, and so we're getting these right from Google Docs. And so I'm reading in the data, and once again, just setting the properties. And I want to just make sure that these are harmonized. I also want to set up a variable. So I'm going to call this variable menu01, and so that's the variable where we're going to store which button the users have clicked on. And you'll see throughout the remainder of the demonstrations that we're doing today that we're going to use that variable to determine whether we're going to show or hide certain elements. And this is using the built-in dynamic visibility that Web Intelligence already has. Okay, so once again, very similar to what we did earlier, we brought in data, in this case from Google Docs. We did a turn into and selected the menu button widget. We brought in the icons through the data provider. We set a variable, and voila, we have a navigation bar. Okay, so we have a navigation bar, but we need to connect some of the other buttons. So the first thing I'm going to show you how to do is a pop-up window. And we're going to use that for settings. And I'd just like to ask a quick poll question. Would you like to be able to create a pop-up window inside of your Web Intelligence reports? Okay, so we'll give you a few seconds to answer that poll. Okay, so it seems like quite a few of you would be interested in being able to do this. So let's see how it's done. And we're going to begin by something that's familiar. So I'm going to go to the Webby toolbar, and I'm going to insert a freestanding cell. And so the freestanding cell is going to be the background of our pop-up. So it's going to provide us the white box and the black border. And I already have the two Need4Viz navigation components on my dashboard. So I'm just going to drag them over. And I'm going to layer them so that the Need4Viz components are on top of the freestanding cell. And once again, the alignment and the snapping capabilities built into 4.3, in my opinion, that's reason enough to upgrade. Okay, so I've positioned two different kinds of navigation. I've got radio buttons for location, and I've also got a drop down for years. And once I've got the appearance that I want to set up dynamic visibility. Okay, I am going to add a little exit window up in the top corner because we do need to be able to get rid of the pop-up window when we are no longer in need of it. And then we're going to set up dynamic visibility. So on the properties of all these components, so the exit button, the two navigation components from the N4V suite, and the freestanding cell, I just need to take a minute to make sure that I'm looking at that menu 01 variable that I set up with the menu buttons. And I only want this to be visible when users click on the third button, the settings icon. Okay, so I'm just pasting in that formula of when to hide it, so you can see that we're going to hide it whenever the menu is not set to settings. And so if it is set to settings, then of course by inverse we're going to be showing it. Okay, and we now have a pop-up window, and it just took a few minutes to create. I created a freestanding cell, and again, its only purpose is just to give us a nice background, to give us the box that we need. We added a couple of N4V navigation elements, and took a moment to set up the dynamic visibility for not only the freestanding cell, but the two navigation components and the exit button. And voila, we have a pop-up window, and I'll be showing you how it works dynamically in just a couple of minutes. Okay, the next thing I want to show you is we're going to add a fourth button to our navigation. So we started off with 3, and remember this came from Google Drive, one of the more recent data providers you can have in web intelligence. And we're all familiar with getting new requirements. And so let's see how easy it is to add a new requirement. I thought this dashboard was gorgeous, and my manager said, what would be really great is if we had a geographic map where we could see where all of our employees were located. Okay, so I'm going to update my Google document, and I'm not showing that part, but I'm just going to refresh because I've now got 4 rows in my Google Doc instead of 3. So I now have a row called Maps with a URL to where I've stored the map PNG file. So I'm simply refreshing the data provider, and boom. So the menu component is automatically updated just by updating the data provider, and now it's really just a matter of I need to wire up that button to dynamic visibility. So very few steps, and so now I want to show you how to wire that button up. And so we have 8 different maps in our suite of components. They're gorgeous, and depending on which map component you choose, you have the option to use OpenStreetMaps. If you have an Esri subscription, you can use that. If you have a Google subscription, you can use that. And so this is going to use geo-encoding. So you can see that over on my dashboard map tabs, I have just a standard vertical table that's got the city and state. I'm going to just right-click, turn into, and pick the map that I need. And we're going to make this map full screen. So when the user clicks on the map button, this map is going to be large enough that it overshadows the rest of the dashboard. And so you can see we've got a lot of employees in Cleveland, and not so much in the other places. But again, with a few clicks, we do a turn into. We set some properties on the properties tab just as if it was any other component. And now what I've got, what I like, I'm just going to copy this and paste it over on my main dashboard tab. All right, and all that remains is to set up the dynamic visibility on the properties for that object so it corresponds to that menu01 variable that I set up earlier. Okay, so in just a few mouse clicks, we selected one of the many tables available in our suite. We selected the Google map with geocoding because we had city and state, and so we're going to let the map do the hard work of figuring out where the dot should go. We did some customizations, harmonized the colors, resized the block, and voila, we have a gorgeous map. And I think you'll agree, a lot more gorgeous, and we'll see in just a moment, a lot more functional than what you get just out of the box with Web Intelligence. Okay. So we are ready. So it's been my pleasure to kind of show you what I want you to take away was how similar the workflow is to working with an out-of-the-box Web Intelligence component. And for most of these, we're just taking an existing table. We're going to turn into, we're setting properties. And now I'm going to switch over. Just going to click on my shortcut. And here's our human resources dashboard. Okay, and you can see that this is, it's fully interactive. Okay, so remember that one of the issues that we had was that we had way too much time series data and not enough Web Intelligence line chart. And so we've got 20 years of data in our timeline chart. And so that's kind of a lot, but we've got some interactivity, so users can scroll over and see precise values, but they also have several different ways that they can focus. So they can manually use the calendar controls here to set in a specific date range. We've got a drop down that has some presets already built into it. So like, let's take a look at year for date. Okay, and we've also got a scroll bar. So they can, regardless of what view they currently have, they can scroll back and forth through the entire data set and again, get precise values wherever they need it. So it's more than just providing a beautiful component. It's a very functional component as well, and allows a significant amount of analysis to be done with the data that's underneath it. So we've got a couple of bar charts here, and I just want to simply show you that they're not just simply bar charts, but they're also drill down. So for example, if I want to see the job descriptions and the human resources breakdown, I've got, wow, a whopping 3,333 people in accounting globally, and I can see how those people break down by their job description. I can also see where people are at geographically. So you can see in our organization, most of our employees are based in Ohio. And one of the great things about the drill bar is each level of the drill can have a completely different appearance. So notice I'm going from just kind of a traditional bar at the state level, and then when I drill down to city, I've got more of a pyramid display with the data points. And of course, we got a control. You can decide where you want that control to be. We've put it in the bottom right-hand corner, and users can go up and down. Let's take a look at the menu that we built. So remember, the top button allows us to always return to this view of the dashboard, but we have an employee directory, and we have several tabular components, and these tabular components not only can show you the underlying data, maybe they're going to show you a deeper level of data, but you can see here we're using our data analyzer. And if users don't like the number of fields that you've picked, if there's other fields available in the data provider, they have the ability to choose which columns they want to see, which ones they want to hide. They can change the order. They can also filter, and they can sort, and they can even go full screen with the component. And remember, we can also go full screen with the entire dashboard. So I can come in and now I can really focus on my work. I don't have to see any of the web intelligence interface if I don't want to. So I'm going to start here. Remember our pop-up window. Okay, so I've clicked on the settings, and there, through the power of dynamic visibility, remember we set up just a freestanding cell, a couple of navigation components, and an exit button. And so I'm going to choose to look at my remote employees. Okay, and we'll look at the last year that we have data available for. Okay, and so once I've set those options, I can close the window. And you can see that the dashboard has been updated. The last thing that I'd want to show you, so that is the interactive experience. So here I am. This again, this is an intranet for us. It could be your intranet. It could be an extranet that your partners and suppliers can look into. Probably not going to share HR data with them. But notice I've got full interactivity, and I'm disconnected both from the BusinessObjects platform as well as the underlying data source. Everything that I need to run this dashboard is embedded in the HTML. Okay, what we have seen today is something that is only possible with the N4V for WebI suite. And I hope that you can, that what you've been able to see is we do all the heavy lifting with no code. The product uses the same workflows that your web intelligence users know and love. And with that, I'm going to turn it back to Michael.
Thank you, Dallas. Amazing presentation. And with N4VIZ, we're an instant return on your investment. We're a quick win from installation to deployment to making amazing eye-popping reports. Not only that, we're going to also save you time and how long it takes you to do so. But more importantly, save you cost, especially with licensing. Through our HTML export, you don't have to worry about using any concurrent licenses. Infrastructure, we're stored on the same BusinessObjects server as you house your BusinessObjects platform. And not only that, with training, it takes the average person a half a day. And because we're stored on the same BusinessObjects server, we can help you become more compliant with digital sustainability. We're compatible with both Windows and Linux, and you can store us on on-premise on-premise servers or just through the cloud. And it's fast training, as I mentioned before. It takes the average person maybe a half day to get trained. Odds are, if you know WebI, you know N4V for WebI. We can make the average WebI developer into a super WebI developer because we make developing reports and working within BusinessObjects WebI intelligence more simple, more productive, and more powerful. And please, if you would like to have a personalized demo to kind of fit some of the objectives you're looking to achieve with your WebI reporting, please scan this QR code. I know that we'll be sending you out probably a copy of this video, but feel free to scan that now, and we'll be glad to schedule you a one-on-one personalized demo. Because at the end of the day, what we're doing is we're helping BusinessObjects WebI Intelligence add more power to the BusinessObjects reporting. And with that, we'd like to go to the Q&A session of this webinar to start fielding some questions that we weren't able to get to during the presentation because they were coming at us kind of fast and furious. And with that, let's start taking a look at them. Okay, is there a component to add tread lines like Excel, which can be parameterized, such as linear, logarithm, polynomial, as well as others? Yeah, a trend line option is available in the drill bar chart. Another question that we have is their financial functions. Example, Sharpe ratios, standard deviations. Um, Custom functions can be developed within the Webby side. Specific charts can also be developed by N4V depending upon our customization requirements. Now, another question that we have is it possible to select a role in a filter HTML table to filter out data, for example, for specific months? And of course, yes. The filter HTML table can be used to make mono or multi sections on one or all the dimensions of the rows. Alice, you want to take the next ones?
Sure. Are there any limitations if you do not use universes? So, for example, if you use Bex queries only. Usage of some of the hierarchy components from your Bex queries may be limited in the need for Viz components, but otherwise you should be able to use, all of the data sources that are available in Web Intelligence. Also, somebody is asking, is it possible to add more than one measure to the drill bar? For now, we support one measure in the drill bar, but are working on a new component that will be like a multi-drill bar with up to 5 measures and up to 5 dimensions. And as we kind of indicated with the answer to one of the previous questions, we're also available to discuss with you creating a component that's not part of the N4V for WebI suite at the moment. And in fact, that's actually where some of our components come from. They start off as customer requests, one-off customer requests, and then they find their way to the suite. And that's why it's been able to grow to over 60 components. All right. Any other questions from the chat room? Okay. About exporting the dashboard, is it possible to export the entire dashboard for public access, like in Power BI with updates in a defined time interval? And yes, it is possible. So the dashboard that I exported was fully interactive in HTML capability, and the setup time can vary depending on the complexity of your dashboard, but it is completely possible. And then lastly, how does security work in the disconnected HTML mode? Data is embedded inside of each widget. And so once it's done, the security access to the dashboard is managed through outside components. So when the dashboard's inside of Web Intelligence, obviously it's going to obey whatever security is embedded in your queries. If you're using row level security and whatnot. Once you do set your dashboard, in an intranet or extranet, all of that data is available. So it's really up to you to determine externally, who should have access to that dashboard. And this is a great example. An HR dashboard has a lot of sensitive information in it. And so if you do choose to take an use it in HTML, you're going to want to be very selective about who's able to see the data. Okay, are those all the questions? And just like to give a shout out to Jerome and Emmanuel and Jean Bernard back at our home office. So they've been fielding the questions in the chat room for us. And if there's no more questions, I'm going to send it back to Michael. Michael, take us home.
Okay, yeah. Please, we just have one more question. How would you rate this webinar on a scale of 1 to 5 stars? We appreciate your objective rating on this. And of course, we'll give you about 15 more seconds to answer for those who haven't answered. Oh, thank you very much. And also, please, we're going to be following up with everybody who attended today, but feel free to use that QR code if you scanned it. to schedule a one-on-one demo with us. So we'll be glad to answer additional questions as well as show you more features that could benefit your organization. Okay. And with that, I'm Michael Trickey, and with Dallas Marks, we really appreciate your attendance today and look forward to talking to you potentially in the near future. Enjoy your day.